So today we're going to paint the greater possessed demons from the Shadowspear box. So as you can see here, we just finished them and I think they look great. If you're interested in having yours look very similar to this, then feel free to stay tuned and I will show you how we got here. So the first thing we're going to do with these two models is we're going to spray paint coat them with a base coat of COREX white, which is what's done here. So as you can see, our two greater spawn are now relatively primed, and we're going to move on to our first coat. Now we're actually going to start with the fleshy bits, and we're going to base coat those with RAKARTH flesh. However, the bones and skeleton pieces will also be primed with RAKARTH flesh, so we're going to do both of those at the moment now. So with a really well watered down layer, we're just going to start coloring over the model. And it'll probably take 2 coats to get the coverage we want with our base layer, because we want it pretty runny just to get into all the details and the grooves there. So we'll do that and we'll meet back here. So this is our units after we finish with the RAKARTH flesh. And as you can see, we've done both the bone and the fleshy bits. So what we're going to do is actually both of those, both bone and fleshy bits, get the next layer, which is Screaming Skull. So we're going to do both of those, and we're just going to dry that, brush that right over both areas. So we're just going to dry that, brush that right over. Just like that, lightening both of those up. And we'll finish all of the models, and we'll meet back here in a little bit. So this is what our units look like now that we've finished with the Screaming Skull dry brush. So what we're going to do now is, before we wash it, we're going to add another color. So my plan in this case is to use DRYAD bark to do anything that we're going to eventually blend into the bone. So I'm going to take a little bit of that here, put some along the edge of this claw. As well as on these vents. So that's kind of where it takes us with our DRYAD bark. We've got this claw, and then we've got the vents on the back, just sort of colored in there. In the other unit, we've got this giant lobster claw here. What we're going to do is take a little bit of KHORNE red, and we're just going to base coat that as well. So just like so. Now he's also got a tabard here. What you can do is you can either do that in Mephiston red, but we'll probably do it in KHORNE red just because we have that color out already. And then we're also going to do the space just inside the grill here with KHORNE red as well. So what you end up with something like this, where you've got both the claw and the tabard and the inside of both mouths with KHORNE red. Next, we're going to take on all of these tentacles. The ones here, there, and in the back as well. And what we're going to do with those and the tongue is we're going to do it with a base coat of Screamer Pink. It'll probably take 2 coats to get it nice and coverage there. So we'll do that and we'll be right back. So now our layer of Screamer Pink is finished. And as you can see, we did the tentacles on this model, as well as the power cable, and the tongue, tentacle over here, the 2 tentacles on the back, and the power cable for the glove. On the second model, he just had power cables, 2 going from under the ribs, as well as 2 under the arms, everything leading to the back. So Screamer Pink is now finished. So we're ready to start tying these colors together. So the first thing we're going to do is going to take some CARROBERG Crimson, and we're going to go over all of the skin bits, all the fleshy bits, the claws, and we're going to put extra here where the claw meets the arm, just to help blend that in, like so. So we'll let this dry for a little bit. We'll do the other model, and then we'll come back and we'll do the next shade. So there's our finished model with the CARROBERG Crimson, and as you can see, we've done just the fleshy bits here. We didn't touch any of the horns. And then all the fleshy bits in the back with the mouths. On the second model, we didn't touch any of this claw, any of the bones on the front, or the skull on the face. And we didn't do any of the bones on the back with that, because what we're going to do next is use some AGRAX EARTHSHADE. And that's what we're going to do the claw and the bones with, trying to blend those together. Something like that there. So we'll leave that dry before we move on from there. So both of our washes are now dry. The AGRAX EARTHSHADE over the bone and the CARROBERG Crimson over the fleshy bits. So what we're going to do now is start a highlight layer. So over the fleshy bits, we're going to put a PALLID witch flesh. So we're going to dry brush that on. Sort of like that. And we're going to keep going with this, and then we'll meet back here. So this is what they look like after we finish with the PALLID witch flesh highlight. And as you can see, we've done both of them. So now what we're going to do is take a little bit more Screaming Skull and just highlight over the bone. Just to brighten that back up. Just like that. We're going to hit the horns. And same with the other side. We're going to hit all of the like so. We have to do the skull as well, and then we're going to do the horns on the head, and then we're going to do the horns on this fella here, and then we'll meet back here in the end. So now that we've got our Screaming Skull highlight layer finished, what we're going to do is come back and clean up all of the armor, and we're going to do that with some ABADDON Black. So with a detail brush, because we don't want to go over anything we've already painted, I'm going to start doing the black of the armor, knowing that we'll come back and do the trim in a few minutes. But for now, we just want to make sure the panels themselves are black. And it's a very watered down layer, so you're probably going to want to do at least 2 of them. So we'll do these and we'll meet back here. So these are our units after we've done the black. And as you can see, we've done the helmet on this guy, as well as the shoulder pad, the prong horns on the claw, the armor on the legs and the hand, the claws on the other hand, the little bit of trim around the backpack, and then the back torso armor as well, and the foot. On the other guy, we did pretty much the entire head, the 2 sides of the chest pieces, the shoulder pads of course, the gauntlet arm, and just the normal armor on the legs and back, and then the backpack. We did the backpack keeping in mind that there's still a trim of fleshy bit pretty much around the entire edge there, culminating in the 2 little mouthy things on the backpacks. So now that the black is done, what we're going to do is come around with the gold trim for the armor here. So we're going to use Retributor armor, and we're going to use that on all of the trim that we haven't quite yet painted. So we'll do that now, and then we'll meet back here again, and we'll see how that looks. With our gold trim finished now, we're going to move on to the metallic trim. So these are things like this chain, and then all of these cables that are in the stomach here, and then any of the exhaust ports that are on the back, and any of the metallic stuff there. Same as on this unit here, all of these little exposed wire cords. There's some in the arms as well as the stomach there. And then on the bottom here, this is all chain. That leads to these chain balls on the bottom here. So all that's going to be done with a base coat of LEADBELCHER. So we're going to do that now. And then ever so slowly, the color scheme of these are showing up because these are very, very tricky. There's a lot going on, and they're not as clearly defined as a lot of normal marines, for the simple fact that they are possessed, and so they have teeth and claws and tentacles and everything coming out of everywhere, and it breaks up a lot of the obvious lines that you would paint along. So it takes a lot of color to make these guys start to look normal, and until they do, you get a little frustrated that they're not coming along the way you'd like. Don't forget the respirators and the exposed vents on the backpacks. So we'll do all that now. We'll meet back here. So here's our units after we finished adding the LEADBELCHER. So you can see all the little details that we've added: the respirators, the cords, the cabling, the chain, the long dangling chain here, and the vents and things like that. So that's all done. So now what we're going to do is just clean up some of these horns, the ones on the head, the ones on the shoulders, as well as the ones coming out of the knees here, and then the extra ones that have been coming out of the legs, the backpacks and things like that, as well as this fella here, which we're going to include the horns on his head, the big shoulders, the backpack ones. We're going to do all that with a base coat of ZANDRI dust. So we're just going to do that now. So we'll keep doing those, and then we'll meet back here again after we're finished with this. So now that we've finished our ZANDRI dust, and you can see that all of the horns are now coated, we're going to do our shade layer. So the first thing we're going to do is take this Newell Oil, and we are going to coat over the black armor, the gold trim, the screamer pink tentacles, the LEADBELCHER metal, but not the fleshy bits, and basically everything that isn't the ZANDRI dust horns. So we're just gonna base coat or shade just everything else here, and that'll get some details to pop. We're gonna do it all over both models, and then we'll meet back here when we're done. Finally, while we're waiting for the Newell Oil to dry, we're going to take a little bit of AGRAX EARTHSHADE and go over all of that ZANDRI dust bone color. We'll probably do this claw too. Not liking the color of it. And more importantly, we're going to do all of these ZANDRI dust horns to give some depth. So something along those lines there. We'll do the same for the other model, and then we'll let everything dry. So now that our washes are now completely dry, we're going to start building up some detail. So the first thing we're going to do is take a little bit of THUNDERHAWK blue, and we're going to start doing some highlights on the armor, the black armor in particular. So just a little bit of an edge highlight, just like that. So we're going to go around most of the armor plates, as well as any of the details that are inside. Such as the face that's here on the shin, and then the mouth and the cracks, and then on the other one as well. So all those spots we're going to highlight with the THUNDERHAWK blue, and then we'll meet back here. So this is our final highlight now after we've done the THUNDERHAWK blue, and as you can see, we've made the eyes stand out a bit, cleaned up the face a little bit here, and then the torn apart shin pad we've got here. And then there's another eye here we've sort of lit up, and then we've edge highlighted the rest of the armor plates here. And then there's a mouth in the back here. We've sort of cleaned that up a little bit. And that's just to bring this stuff out. We'll continue to paint details on in a few minutes. Here we've brought out this face that's down here, as well as the cracks in and around where the spikes are coming out. And then we've just edge highlighted the armor in the back here where we needed to. And then the other plates. And now that we're doing our highlighting layer, we're going to take some Liberator gold and go over all of this gold trim. And that's just going to give us a little bit of a better, whiter gold as opposed to a yellowish gold. Like so. Add some shine to it, so we're going to do the rest of the gold on the models, and then we'll meet back here again. So now our edge highlight is finished, and what we're going to do is move on to the metal. So we're going to put a little bit of Iron Breaker on all of the LEADBELCHER that we did earlier. And just like so. And it just lights that up a little bit like so. Let's brighten up some of those areas. Hit the same thing on the back side. So we'll finish that. We'll do all the metal that's on the second model, and we'll meet back here in a minute. So now that all of our metal is highlighted, you can see it's really starting to take shape. What we're going to do now is start to clean up on this model, the red. So that's the red of the tabard here, as well as the claw. So what we're going to do is take a little bit of Evil Sun Scarlet. And what we're going to do is just brush that right on. Like so, to add a bit more red to that. Try to get a little brighter on the highlight spots there. Like so. Trying our best not to hit any of the gold trim that we've since done. Like so. Now that we've finished that, we're going to take a little bit of Wild Rider Red, which is a little bit brighter still than what we had a minute ago. We're just going to go on dry brush edge. Just like that. And same with the tabard, just a little bit there. Just like so. So now with respect to the tentacles, we're going to brighten those up using a little bit of pink horror. And once again, it's another dry brush run. Something like that. So we've got him lit up pretty nicely. And then there wasn't much Screaming Skull on this one, except for those two cables there. We'll just add a little bit of depth to that too. Just like so. So finally it's time for a much more detailed part. What we're going to do is take a little bit of Screaming Skull, which we used earlier. So we're going to start picking off these teeth like so. So we're going to do these teeth, the teeth in the mouth, the teeth in the chest, the teeth running underneath the armor, the teeth in the other spot in the leg down here, as well as the teeth in the arm, and then the mouth that's on the back, as well as the teeth in the two jetpacks. So we're going to do all of those, meet back here again. So now that we finished all the teeth, he's really starting to come and look like the way he's supposed to. So as you can see here, we've done all the teeth on the arms, the front, the leg, as well as the back and the two jetpacks, and then where the tentacles come out as well, all done with Screaming Skull. We've also done the horns and lightened those up as well as the ones in the backpack. On the second model, We've done the horns on the head and the shoulders, as well as the ones on the knees and the side ankles there. And then on the back, we just brushed over that skull again just to lighten him back up. And then did the other knee on the other side, and then brushed over the one on the wrist. So that takes care of all of our Screaming Skull. Now what we're going to do is start filling in all of the eyes that are all over this model. So there's 3 on the arm here, as well as 3 on the other side there. There we go. As well as 1 on the shoulder here, 1 up here in the top shoulder there, and 1 over here on the knee, and then 3 on the chest. So we're going to start painting in those delicately. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of JOKAERO orange, and with our very fine detail brush, we're going to start coloring in some of these eyes right here. Just like that. So we're going to do all of them, and then we'll meet back here in a few moments, and we'll probably do the 2 on the model as well. So we've painted up the bases just to return them back to black, and then what we're going to do now is just finish up the eyes that we've been painting. So we're going to take a little bit of YRIEL yellow and our very, very fine detail brush, and we're just going to put a yellow center in the middle of those eyes. Like so. Just like that. Now that our yellow has dried, our last step is to put a tiny pupil on that eye like so. I'll go around and we'll do all the other ones as well. Like that there. So I think we're ready to flock the base and then probably clear coat them. So here you can see the finished models. So hopefully yours turned out very similar to these. If they did and you're happy with that, please feel free to like the video or subscribe to the channel. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to leave a comment and let us know. In any case, I hope this helped you, and we will see you again in the next video.